All right, people, and we're back with another edition of ATL Style Live Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Leo G. Glad to be back, and as y'all can see, I got another one of my co-hosts out here with me. What's going on, Banks?
Yeah, what's going on, Leo G? How you feeling, brother?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good, man. Ready to talk about some ATL sports as we always do. But before we get into it, man, we'll go ahead and, we'll talk about our partner, man, out there on the east side. Tell everybody about our partner out there on the east side, brother.
Yeah, the boy Phil out there on the east side, Eastlands Woodworking Company. If you need any woodworking done, like ashtrays or coasters, or just a keepsake that you personalize, it's very worth it, people. You can see right here, I love my coasters. I'm trying to get more stuff done by him. Hit my boy Phil up and tell him we sent you.
Absolutely, man. Does some great work, man. Hit our boy Phil up, man. QR code. We'll try to put it back up for those you guys watching toward the end of the show, man. As we record this show today, just real quick, Banks, man. We used to do a fit check, drink check. Now we just kind of jump right on into it, man, because of time or whatever. But I definitely wanted to shout out my gear, man. I'm representing the Falcons. Salute the Service Collection as we record this episode on Veterans Day, man. Shout out to all the veterans out there, man. Coming from a military family, mother and father, both veterans, man. I could say, let me tell you something, man. I also want to shout out the families of all the veterans too, man, because it's a lot, when you're a family member of a veteran. So, man, definitely shout out to all the veterans that have served this country. We appreciate everything that you do on the day in and day basis. Everybody that's retired. Banks, I don't know if you knew this or not, man. Both of my grandfathers were World War II veterans, and my mother and father are veterans of two wars, the Vietnam War and Operation Desert Storm and Shield. So shout out to all the veterans out there, Banks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you for your service. For all the ones that who are a hero. Even in my eyes, I only had a couple of people in my family who was in military. I salute everyone that served this country and that gave they all.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Banks, I can see you got on your Hawks gear, man. We'll be ready to talk about the Hawks here in just a minute.
Well, wherever you are, baby, I'm ready. I mean, I'm sitting here. Hey, look, I got my house gear. I'm actually going to take a special trip down to New Orleans and check them out. So we can talk about that later. But yes, it is Hawk season.
Absolutely, man. Basketball season is underway, man. I think we're about 11 games into the season, man. Listen, a lot transpired over the past weekend here, man. Had UGA, they took on Mississippi State down there in Starkville, man. Very familiar with Starkville. Shout out to Mississippi State, man. Had family to play down there, man. The Cowbells from hell. If you have not been to Starkville, Mississippi, man, the Stark Vegas, as they call it down there, you have not seen a college football game. I think both of those schools in Mississippi, they don't disappoint. The Grove over at Ole Miss and also Mississippi State, Banks. It's a time, man, in Starkville, man. They are. I don't know if you know this, but we'll talk about it for just a little bit, and then we'll get into the thick of the show. They are dubbed the Cowbells from hell, Banks. I don't know if you've ever been to Starkville. For a long time, Mississippi, they had banned the Cowbells there at Mississippi State. They banned them. There's a long story behind what happened. I think, they were playing a football game back in 1832 or something, and a cow walked on the field. They won the game, and that's not the true story. I mean, it's something along that nature. A cow walked on the field, and that's where the whole cowbell the cowbell thing came from. And for a long time, the NCAA had banned it. Then they actually brought it back. I've been there since they have brought back the Cowbells. And let me tell you something, Banks. I don't think you've been to a football game if you sat there for 2 hours and listen to these Cowbells, man, when the opposing team is on offense, man. It is absolutely insane. Banks, have you ever been down to Starkville? Do you know, are you familiar with the Cowbells from here?
Absolutely. I've never been to Starksville, but I know about Mississippi State and their Cowbells, and you hear it on TV. And I can only imagine how it is in real time and to actually sit through that, how intimidating it can be. You know, it's nonstop. I think, this past Saturday, you heard it in the beginning of the game, and then it kind of faded away. But, shout out to UGA for putting that to bed.
Yeah, absolutely, man. UGA took care of business. And for what it's worth, man, Mississippi State started out the season kind of hot, man, but it's kind of fizzled out, man. But yeah, they went down to Starkville, took a dub. I think this weekend UGA comes back to Athens in a highly anticipated game against Texas. Last year, first time Georgia went down to Austin, beat up on them Longhorns. So they come up to Athens on this Saturday, 7:30 up there to take on the Bulldogs. So, man, also this past weekend, man, if you didn't hear, there was a game over across the water in Berlin, Germany. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. Banks, just to get your thoughts, man, we'll talk about the game and what happened over there, man. But I want to tell everybody and all the listeners, and I think I've talked about this before, and I know you haven't experienced it, but I want to tell everybody, if you haven't experienced the NFL game outside of the United States, I think it's something that you need to plan to do if you're an NFL fan. I enjoyed looking at my feed, all the people that actually made the trip over to Berlin to watch this game. They had a blast. They had a ball, man. The whole weekend, Berlin. This is the first game, I think, NFL game actually played in Berlin. So if you haven't been to an NFL game, you're an NFL fan outside of the United States, I advise you to go. Several years ago, I went over to London. Great experience. It's one of the best sporting experiences that I've had in my entire life. So it was a great deal over there, Banks. Have you heard about the experience of the NFL when they play these overseas games? I'm pretty sure you have.
Oh, absolutely. I heard people saying how the sport is growing over there in Europe and how people, in those Germany and London, Madrid, over in Spain, they are loving our sport, and that's kudos to, the late Paul Tagliabue, who just passed over the weekend as well. He had the vision of expanding this league, and people kind of chuckled at it. It's like this, it's not leaving the states, and sure and behold, here we are, going from country to country to country to country every week now. It used to be a time where it was just London for what, week 5, and then that was it. Then see you next year. Now it's a every week thing now, and it's like it's growing, and like each year that goes by, it seems like another country is added. So it's exciting to see. I really am impressed to see that NFL expanding in all these countries, and people are very, very intrigued about it. And that's another surprising that we have fans in Germany that love our teams. That's they have a fan group out there. It's really interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and let's not forget about Mexico as well and South America. Now we've had games down in Brazil. Want to say Sao Paulo is where we played a game as well, and there, like you said, Madrid, also Dublin. We can't forget about that. Started out in London, but now we've expanded. And if my memory serves me correctly, the commissioner they want to try to get a full slate of games over in Europe, and that way each NFL team will have to go. I don't know how the players will feel about this, but they're trying to make it to where each team will go over and play a game in one of those international series games. And so, Banks, this gives you plenty of time now if they do decide to expand this schedule to experience one of those games overseas, and I guarantee you will not be disappointed. Obviously, the outcome of the game might be disappointing, but you won't be disappointed going internationally to see the NFL and what it is, man. It's such a great time and such a great vibe. So listen, man, we'll talk about that game here in just a minute, but let's talk about these Atlanta Hawks, Banks. Since you got on the guard, you got on the gear, let's talk about these Atlanta Hawks. We hadn't got a chance to talk about them here early. So let's right now, I think as we speak, currently the Hawks sit at 6-5. Like I said, 11 games into the season here. But the biggest thing that we need to talk about, I guess, with the Hawks is early into the season, Trae Young goes down with a sprain, MCL. Banks, they saying this 4 weeks, and then they have to reevaluate this, and we'll come back to it. Right now, like I said, 6-5. First thing is, though, Banks, let's talk about this. Trae Young is out. Is this a preview of possibly what's to be life moving forward post Trae Young? Because I mean, there has to be some conversation eventually about, where do we go, post Trae Young? I mean, is it going to happen soon? Is it going to happen later? But we're looking at a young nucleus, and obviously they have some good players, and they've been holding their own. So, Banks, are we actually looking at something here that might possibly be here sooner than later, a post Trae Young Hawks team?
I hope not. Let's make no mistake about it. The Hawks need Trey Young. I mean, this whole city is divided about should Trey Young, go somewhere else, get a bag, or should he stay here because he's all about the Hawks. Listen, he's he's here. I mean, I know he wasn't offered an extension, but at the same time, I mean, he is the Atlanta Hawks as we speak. And people are, saying, well, look, we're winning without him. Well, make no mistake, you're gonna need this man, okay? I'm not putting any stock in beating the Clippers last night. Clippers right now are without Kawhi right now, and they're not the same team. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm not about to sit here and throw bouquets at the Hawks for winning, against a 3-7 team. I'm just not. They need Trey Young, and they need him out sooner than later. If Trey decide to move on, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But until then, I mean, as he's now on the roster, we need him, and I can't imagine a day without him. Right, as we go talking about this team being successful.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like Trey. I like what he has done. Obviously, he has brought a spark to this franchise. And obviously, he is the face of the franchise here in Atlanta. I think that for quite some time, I mean, arguably, we didn't have a face of the franchise here in Atlanta. Growing up as Hawks fans, we all we knew is 21. All we knew was Dominique Wilkins for the longest time and how he carried this franchise and put it on his back. And now Trey has become that person to do that as well for this franchise. We've had some, I guess, decent success with this franchise, but never making it to the finals. And I know that we've gone through several coaches now and several iterations of this team with Trey being the constant. We've moved players around. We moved pieces around. DeJounte Murray, Clint Capella. We've had DeAndre Hunter. We've had a host of different players, but Trey Young is not a constant. Do you think now with the nucleus that we have when Trey comes back, is this going to be the supporting cast to help us get to the next level? Because let's be real, Banks. We're in Atlanta. We talk about this all the time. And I'm sorry, but the expectation is to get to an NBA Finals, which the Hawks have not done. So is this supporting cast with Trey Young now and Coach Snyder, is this going to be the iteration of this team that's going to be able to do it for us?
Well, I think in this instinct, when you say the goal is the NBA Finals, I think the goal is to actually be in the playoffs. Okay, we've been a play-in round team for the past couple of years. I think you got to crawl before you walk, man. I think at this juncture, you have to shoot for an actual position in what 1 through 6 in the playoff seeding. If you have to shoot for that for right now, listen, I think I understand that the end game is the NBA Finals. I think that the Hawks team is very young. I'm not going to say that they can't do it, but I don't think that shouldn't be the goal for this year. I don't think that this team is complete to compete for the finals. But a strong team like
I'm
OKC.
not saying the
No, I
goal
mean
for this year.
well, I see what you're saying, but I mean, I think with this nucleus, with the team that we have make up now with Trey Young, I think the goal in the end game is a playoff appearance, and I think what we got now is right spot on what we are, what we're trying to do.
I mean, of course, obviously, you do have to make it to the dance, but I think at this point, I mean, like you said, playing around or whether they just make it into the dance. I mean, obviously, yes, that is a short-term goal, but like I said, with the patience of the fan base here in Atlanta, I mean, you make it into the playoffs. I mean, we always talk about the measure of success is putting championships in the case. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'd be thrilled if they made it to the playoffs, but I mean, this can't be the expectation every year. Is the Hawks making in, like you said, if they get to like a 5 seed or whatever. I mean, we have to look forward. I mean, we made it to, the Eastern Conference Finals a couple of years back, and we just haven't looked the same since. And like I said, there's a bunch of different players, a bunch of different supporting cast. Now, the constant still being Trey. So what are we going to do to kind of elevate where we are and to kind of move forward and to say, okay, hey, you know what? We are the 4th seed in the East. So the expectation now is, hey, get to the Eastern Conference Finals and then let's get to the actual finals and try to bring a trophy home.
I mean, I agree, but I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day. Okay, we're still, in my eyes, a playing round game, our team playing round team, and until we get over that hump, I mean, I think the goal is a fifth or fourth or third or second or first team. I like what Zachary Richichet has done so far, coming in and, playing like a first round pick. You know, I can't go forward and say, okay, so at what point are we talking about Eastern Conference Finals? Let's just get to the first round. Okay, that's what I'm looking forward to. And the thing is, this particular Hawks team, they are built to grow that way. Okay, I can't sit there and compare last year's team with this year's team, but last year's team was very incomplete, very injury riddled, a lot of bad looks, bad bounces last year. We're coming to a new year, just new feel. And until then, I think right now it's early in the season. With this team makeup, with or without Trey, and this young nucleus, is basically just don't be a player around team. Just don't do that. Because if you are, it would be a huge disappointment.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we're still early on. Like I said, 6-5, 11 games in. I mean, the additions that they picked up, with Chris Porzingis, I've seen, him make an immediate impact. And some of the things that I've seen since Trey has been gone, I mean, especially defensively, man, because, it's always been the fact that there's a liability at guard when Trey's in the game. But like I said, these are just some of the things that I've noticed and some of the things that were brought to my attention when looking at the Hawks without Trey and seeing where they would go and seeing the growth without him out there on the court. Obviously, one of the best defenders that we have in the league in the Great Barrier Thief. Also young, everybody on this team is relatively young, like you said. So there is potential for growth with Trey coming back. Where we will go is going to be interesting to see. So 4 weeks was the prognosis, and then they have to revisit it. It could be longer, but hey, we'll see if they keep trucking along and stay above 500 coming up here pretty soon. And I know Banks, you said you're going down there in a couple of weeks to check them out in New Orleans. So hopefully they'll bring a dub back from that standpoint.
The thing is, I've seen a lot of excitement in this team, and I, for one, start paying attention, especially with this last off season, with the possibility of having a high draft pick, from New Orleans. And ironically, I'm going down there. So when I decided to go down there, I was like, oh, wow, the Hawks are playing that same weekend. Got tickets and let's go. Why not? So I think a lot of people, in the city has kind of been buzzing about the Hawks a little, not as much as they would want, but at least there is some kind of buzz. A couple of years ago, there was zero buzz. So, like I said, baby steps. Let's see what we can do with this.
Yeah, let's see what we can do. Speaking of excitement, speaking of changes and things here in the city to be excited about, man, let's move over to the MLS a little bit as the MLS season is starting to wrap up over there. Of course, obviously, we know that Atlanta United did not make the postseason this year. Kind of bittersweet in losing a star player like Brad Guzan. But they fired the coach, Ronnie Dyler, as well. He's out, and it was made official not too long ago that a familiar face will be coming back to Atlanta United. It's a guy that we're very, very familiar with, Banks. Guy by the name of Tata Martino, who comes back in to lead this team going into the 2026 season. For me, Banks, let me say this first and foremost, and I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about it. I have very mixed feelings about this hire. I really do. I'm not a go backwards type guy, right? I mean, obviously, there's some nostalgia to this hire. Obviously, being the first coach that ever coached for Atlanta United and actually bringing the MLS Cup here to Atlanta. When they started to talk about who was going to be the next coach, this was a name that just kept coming up. Obviously, we know that, he was only here for a short period of time and he left. So like I said, I'll get into it here in just a moment, but I want to get your thoughts on it as to why I feel some type of way. But now he's coming back. This feels like a nostalgia hire. And I know that we're not going to go back to 2017, obviously, or 2018. But Banks, your thoughts on Atlanta United bringing back Tata Martino to this organization?
You basically stole my thunder, Leo. I didn't have no feel for it. That's exactly what it was. It was a nostalgic hire, to revisit the guy who started it all. I mean, I guess. Um, kind of the same thing how it was when Miggy came back. I mean, he's back. Okay, now what? It don't move the needle for me. I'm sorry. I'm just, I have no words about it. It's just whatever. I mean, it's a nostalgic hire. I mean, it's really nothing to get excited about. The fact of the matter is, okay, he was the first, here, and he got brought us a championship.
I guess on the plus side, you can say there's some familiarity there with this organization, obviously, and this city. You can also say that there's some familiarity, excuse me, with the MLS as well, and how the MLS works as far as the player system and the designated players and bringing talent onto the roster. So you can say that there's a positive there. But the way I feel about this Banks here is the fact that what happened? Why did he decide to leave? There was talks when he did leave that it was because of a workload and that he was not comfortable with, the grind of a whole entire soccer season. That's why he decided to leave. As we know, he went down to Mexico to coach El Trey, the Mexican national team, which is a little less strenuous, I guess, obviously. Because you're not coaching the full season. Obviously, you're just getting a team prepared for international play here from time to time. That did not end very well for him. Then we saw him come back to MLS, obviously, as recently here as with Miami. And then the opening came back up for him to come to Atlanta. The way I feel about this is, Banks, and I don't know how you feel about this, is why leave? I mean, I know there were a lot of factors, and a lot of people will tell you that, there were some things going on with the organization that he probably did not like. And I give you that. But there was a lot of success here. And we could have had a lot more success had he stayed, because obviously we kind of fell off the table. Well, we did have our shot at getting back to an MLS Cup, and we did win some trophies here with other coaches. But I think it could have been sustained a lot longer had he not left. So, Banks, my question to you is, do you feel as if if he wouldn't have left, then we could have continued with the success that he had started initially when he was here?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's nothing about continuity. I mean, you had a base here. You had a tradition here. The fan base was behind you 110%. So, and you kind of broke that up, and it's like you thought, well, they're gonna be in good hands after I leave, and it kind of went out the door with them, and it's like I hated to see United fall that hard on his face, you know, from where they were. The first two seasons here, it was electric around here, and all of a sudden, after the championship, it kind of just dwindled away. The fact of the matter is, when you come back, it's kind of like damage is done, and I don't really think that it's anything that can be restored unless you have just some kind of magic elixir and get these guys to play like you did before you left. But I mean, I guess, but again, it just doesn't do nothing for me. Like you're going backwards, and to do what? And it's like you said, you should never left. And I mean, water under the bridge, but I mean, at the same time, it's like it's just not the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's where I am, and that's why I'm kind of hung up. I mean, from a nostalgia aspect, yeah, I'm happy to see him come back. But at the same time, I'm like you, Banks. I mean, this is not going to be a magic pill. This is not a magic bullet. This is not to say, okay, let's get the gang back together. I mean, obviously, Miguel is here. And speaking of which, we just found out the other day that Joseph Martinez is not going to hit the market as a free agent. He's leaving San Jose. But I mean, even at 32 years old, Banks was with bringing Joseph back as a striker here to Atlanta. I mean, once again, that would be probably another nostalgia hiring. So, I mean, we have to look at this. I mean, I always take a positive take on things, at first. Obviously, we have to, and that's what we do as fans, right? We try to say, okay, you know what? Let's look at the positive in this. We do know that Tata is one hell of a coach, one of the most decorated and respected coaches in all of international soccer. But at the same time, I feel like, we're kind of going backwards because I don't know. Do you open up that South American pipeline again and bring players in from South America? Do you still have those scouting abilities to get guys here to play in that system that you want? Because let's be real, man, that system that you had in 2017 was perfect, and you had the personnel to do it. Can you do that again? And also with the way that the MLS is going, will you be able to attract a big name over here to play in the system that you want to implement? So those are some of the questions that I would have moving forward with him. But we'll just have to see how this works out. Like I said, MLS season here is wrapping up in just a moment. And then, hey, Banks, it's right around the corner, short period of time. It's almost like baseball, man. We'll be talking about MLS is back, starting back up here in February here in just a moment, man. So, yeah, man, Tata is back. And obviously, we'll have a lot to talk about here moving forward to see what they'll do over there at Atlanta United. Banks, listen, we got to move on. Obviously, man, this is the part of the show that's going to be a little painful, man, but we got to talk about it. We got to get through it here. So, look, we're going to talk about the actual game that happened in Berlin on this past Sunday, man. So, listen, first thing I want to talk about before I actually talk about the game is I find this kind of funny and it's a little amusing to me. And I know you have a lot to say about this when I start to talk about it. And, Banks, I want you to go in. Our coach, Raheem Morris, before we even talk about this game, before we even talk about what happened in Berlin, there are some things that are just, they are bothering me. Specifically, his press conferences and what he tells us every single week. I don't know if it's because he just doesn't have a broad vocabulary, he doesn't have a lot to say, or he's just, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if he was out there actually watching the game, but it's now become a joke. And, we had a coach in here that we named Coach Catchphrase. Obviously he's gone on to other things now, but Raheem is now become Captain Find a Way. Every press conference is we have to find a way to win a game. We have to find a way to do this. We have to find a way to do that. And I'm starting to think to myself, man, is the GPS broken? Like, for real, you say this every week, you have to find a way, but I'm not understanding. You're not telling me or showing me, like, what is the way that we need to find? Obviously, Banks, Raheem Morris has become kind of a joke here now. We'll talk about the game here in just a minute. But your thoughts on just the way he's carrying himself in these press conferences and talking in circles to his fans like we don't know what the hell is going on.
I truly believe he doesn't know what he's doing. I think he gets ahead of what he's like his position that he's in now as a head coach of saying the right things at the right moment. And unfortunately, he doesn't have a counter for when things go bad because he's so used to talking up and fast and projecting his voice, and to get to a positive place. But unfortunately, you can't keep doing that when your team is not reciprocating on what you're saying. So unfortunately, those words fall on deaf ears. You can't only talk so loud and so fast to the point where it's like you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I truly believe someone said it best on the radio station that he got the job by talking the way he does, and he brought a freaking Super Bowl ring that he won back in Tampa or LA to that interview. And he probably was asked, "So what can you bring here?" And he just probably held up his hand or something to that, some corny like that. And then Arthur Blank just fell in love with it. Listen, I from the moment I first heard the man in his introductory press conference, I kind of had an eerie feeling about it because it had no substance in the way he talks. It sounds good, but it has nothing to back it up because he's talking fast and he's talking to and it doesn't sit right with me. And for like you said, for the same repeated statement each week, we got to find a way. Yeah, we're gonna find a way. You're gonna find you a way back to an offensive or defensive coordinator. That's what you're gonna find a way to do. So until then, man, I have nothing for the man. I mean, I hate that he's going through this, but at the same time, I mean, you can't do it. You can't do it.
I mean, obviously, yeah, man, it's a tough time with the Falcons here as they drop another loss. It's 4 in a row now, man. 31-25 is the final over in Berlin after they take on the Colts, man. I want to give kudos to the NFL for putting on a great job over there in Berlin, man. And historic place, Banks, by the way, just not to get too far off, but they talked about the story and they talked about obviously what happened over in Berlin in that stadium and the significance of it, man. Wow, Banks, wow. That's all I can say, man, that they actually had an opportunity to play an NFL game where so much history took place over there in Berlin, Germany. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Jesse Owens, man. I probably would have just gotten chills walking into that stadium had I went to that game, man. That's crazy, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was a good, gesture to talk about the old Olympics of the what they call the old days of the Olympics. Um, a good, I guess, history moment. Unfortunately, we was on the wrong side of history, like we do so very often in this franchise. But that should have been a special moment, to highlight to be in that building. And you would be like, wow, that's an old building. And it truly is, that they had a shot and they panned it back and they showed like half the top and half the inside of the building. It was kind of a real picturesque they had for that stadium, and a lot of people have like used that as their like uh they cover page for Battle in Berlin, or it was a very nostalgic, very picturesque stadium for what happened in the past and happened right now. Unfortunately, my team had to be there and do what they do. So
Hey man,
very
somebody had to
forgivable.
lose. Somebody had to lose, and obviously it was us, man. 31-25 is the final, like I said, man. Banks, here's the bright point of this. So let's talk about some bright points, man. And the only real big bright point that I can come out with is defense, right? We've talked about how much we've wanted. Well, I know specifically me has talked about how bad I've wanted a defense here with this team, man. Even though we saw at the beginning of this game a couple, we've been down with injuries here. We know we always talk about this, Banks. This is NFL. There's gonna be injuries every week. You just got to find a way to find the depth to bounce back and do what you need to do to make the adjustments, man. What I will say is, man, the defense kept us in this game, and the two biggest brightest points on this was number 27 and number 11. I think we have something special in those two guys. They show up to play every week, man, guns blazing, and they went out there. We talk about the sacks and the turnovers, man. It's 2 games in a row we've been able to do that defensively, man. So Banks, I know we did take a L, man, but from a positive standpoint, man, I will say I think that the defense is getting better incrementally every week. Now, obviously, there are a couple of players on the defense that are not performing up to par, and that's partly probably the reason why we've given up some plays in some places that we shouldn't. But I think that the bright point is that this defense has been playing a lot better. This is the first time I think in over a decade that we've seen the Falcons defense play this well under the circumstances, obviously. Because I mean, this is not the 2000 Baltimore Ravens, but under the circumstances, man, this defense has been playing well.
Well, since you said it that way, for the past couple of years, we've been beating the desk trying to figure out when we're going to get sacks from, and we finally get it. Falcons are fifth in the league in sacks, and I thought I'll never, in my days, being a Falcon fan, that I would see a Falcon defense being ranked that high. Whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm so used to being 31, 32 in the league in sacks and not caring, not understanding how we're going to find any kind of pressure anywhere when we finally got something, and that's something to kind of hang your hat on. Um, it's sad that we have to talk about the fact that the defense has improved. Shout out to Olbrich for bringing out the best out of these guys, i.e., Arnold Ebiketie, who's actually playing like a wild man out there.
Brandon
Really,
Dorless.
listen here. You made a believer out of me. I had my doubts on Arnold Ebiketie. I thought he was just a placeholder on the team. I didn't know if he was the man is playing like we need the man on the field now. It's like he's essential to making this defense go.
Like I said,
Um,
Ebiketie, Dorless. I mean, some of the other
Listen,
guys that,
Ruko
yeah,
Rororo,
Aurora,
everyone
yeah.
has contribute. And then like I said, I chalk that up to Ulbrich, what I'm saying, for bringing the best out of these guys. Listen, I was very impressed with how the defense played Sunday. I still got my hangups on some of the things that they did philosophy wise. Like your 3rd and 21, you cannot let a quarterback get loose like that. I don't understand why we can't ever get to a quarterback when it's in a situation like that. And he got 20 yards out of that. Like, what the hell, dude? Like, something like that would kind of like dilute the whole thing that you did all day. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that. It's got to stop giving up these 3rd and longs, and then that's essentially what kind of lost you the game if you really think about it. I mean, that could have ended the game if you just would have if you would have just stopped him even halfway, you probably would have won that game. So it's frustrating. Hopefully they can get better from that, but at the same time, it's like, I still feel like the defense is still missing some key few players off that to be elite, and they're not there yet.
I mean, obviously, Divine Diablo, he went out, he got injured, he broke his forearm, man. And speaking of that play banks, we talk about this in the NFL, man. It's a game of inches and it's a game of plays. Obviously, Daniel Jones made a play. Obviously, we've seen this too. We're very intimate with the Falcons. Obviously, we watch all of their games, and unfortunately, it just seems like somebody always makes a play in an opportune moment. It's like a key moment, and it's like, okay, can we do this? Can we stop this? And Daniel Jones actually made a play. I mean, you can call a perfect whatever, Banks. You can really, realistically, when you're on the field in that moment, you can have the perfect play call. Obviously, Daniel Jones had to take off because guess what? Everybody was covered. But now here's the thing. Everybody's covered downfield because they're trying to get into field goal range. Nobody's accounting for, hey, we need to have somebody possibly spot. Because who the hell is going to spot Daniel Jones? I'm not calling the spot on Daniel Jones if I'm the defensive coordinator and he rips off a play. I mean, if you're going to get beat, you want to make somebody like Daniel Jones do something like that to you. And obviously he did, and the rest was kind of history. That was the kind of pivotal point of that game. But yeah, I mean, these things that happen. It's the NFL. And obviously, yeah, we're still a couple of players away from possibly being, maybe taking it over to being a great or an elite defense. But I think we're a middle of the road defense that has given us an opportunity, aside from a couple of games, to actually to be in a better position. So let's go to the opposite side of the football now, which for years, we never had to talk about offense because our offense was always the great point of the team, under leadership of number 2, Matt Ryan. Obviously, he's no longer here. We've gone through maybe about 4 quarterbacks since he's left. So just let me talk a little bit about one of the key things that has plagued this offense, and I'll let you get into it here in just a second. Third down conversions. Horrible. Didn't convert not a one this game. I think it was some egregious number like 8 or 40 over the last couple of games. I have to fact check that, but we know we've not converted a lot of third downs here as of recent. There are, I guess, a lot of different reasons why that's happening. A lot of people have putting the blame with Zach Robinson, obviously. And a lot of people said that this Sunday, Zach Robinson has a lot to do with it. But then now you got to look at the young quarterback and you got to look at the talent around to say, hey, is it just the play calling, or can we just not get this done with the talent that we have? Banks, I'm gonna pass it over to you here, man. First of all, that third down conversion stat is egregious. This is something that I hate we even have to talk about, man, because we watched years and years and years of great offenses with the Falcons, and now this probably has to be the most lackluster and I'm talking about, we went through some years with Mariota and Ritter, but this year here, man, my God, man, the offensive play outside of a bright, Bijan Robinson, who has had a great year, considering some of the obstacles, but offensively, man, my God, man, this is just not what you want.
Listen, I chalked this up going back to coaching. When it was failed, before it even started. Okay, you drafted Michael Penix in the first time offensive coordinator. That's not a good combination. Okay, they both learning, they both trying to figure it out. And you brought in Kirk Cousins, yes, but he was injured. You know what I'm saying? It was just doomed from the start. Now we're trying to piecemeal this together with this offense, man. Bijan Robinson, yes, he does special things, but what happens when teams sell out to stop him? And as we're seeing it right now, teams don't give a flip of what these other players on this roster not named Bijan Robinson. Yes, Drake London gonna catch some good catches here and there, but that's not gonna beat you. We're not gonna let number 7 do it. So guess what? It's exactly what's happening. 7 is not getting anything done because other teams are teeing off on him. We don't have nothing else. And it's like we don't have a coordinator to change things around. We don't have no coordinator to scheme other players open or anything like that. You got a quarterback in his 12th start who's trying to do more than he should be asked to do. He's trying to even
Banks, let
learn
me
the
ask you
game
this.
first.
Let me stop you right there, because let me ask you this here, Banks. Let's talk about Michael Penix Jr. here for a minute. And you brought up valid points, obviously. But let's talk about Michael Penix just here for a second. And I know a lot of people have brought this to my attention, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Michael Penix has done some great things, obviously, and like you said, the 12 starts. But there's some people, shout out to my boy Stokes, that brought up the fact that, hey, is Michael Penix scared to like run? And I'm not. So let me clarify this. I'm not saying Michael Penix needs to be a running quarterback. That's not what I'm saying. But there have been opportunities where Michael Penix has had looks to where he could actually leave the pocket and probably pick up some yards that will probably, give the defenses something to consider or think about, because we know he's a pretty decent athlete. Obviously, injuries have plagued him over his careers in college. But do you think that Michael Penix is not putting everything, all his attributes together to actually make this offense a little better? Yes, we know he can pass, rocket arm, great arm talent. But there are some things that he's not putting together in order to give this offense to its full potential. And does not absolve Zach Robinson, obviously. But do you think that some of this is Michael Penix, and he's young, he's still learning, but not using all of his attributes to make us more successful on offense?
It could be possible. I mean, he's, you know, a player that I've seen in college that he ran every blue moon, even in college. I don't think that he even thinks about running his first go. He is so gung ho on I gotta get this rock thrown out of my hand. He doesn't think about another attribute. And I fall that back on coaching to coach this kid up. There's nobody on our coaching staff that can do that. I'm sorry. It's just not. I don't trust uh 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 Zach Robinson to do it. I definitely don't trust TJ Yates to do it. So I think he's kind of sitting there in quicksand, got to figure this out on a whim. Listen, I hear people talk about he should move out the pocket. I agree. I think he should move, at least avoid some of this, it'd be 3rd and 5, and he can have a lane that opens up right in front of him. He would not hit it. I just don't think that's his first go-to. I don't think he even looks to do that. Even after the injury, he definitely is not going to do it now. I mean, he's just not that quarterback. I tell people all the time, he's just not, he's a statue. For what y'all keep saying that Matt Ryan was, well, he's that too. Michael Penix is a person who would not move.
I
So, I
think
mean,
athletically, he has way more than Matt Ryan, and I think
he
for what you're
truly
saying,
does, but I
and
guess
for what it's worth, we
I
have
don't
to.
think no one's pushing him to do that. I mean, not but nobody on this staff is. You hear people on the outside, Kurt Warner. I heard Kurt Warner, digest our offense and everything. I heard other people digest. Why does he do this? First, what Pennis need to do is work on his feet work. He got to learn how to do that first. Let's learn how to throw left on a left-handed quarterback. Let's do that first before you talk
Well,
about
that
some
well that
scrambling up the
that
middle.
that that is something that's going to have to be worked on during the offseason. Obviously, I mean, yeah, you can work on a little bit this during the season, but yeah, those are things that have to be kind of looked at during the offseason is getting worked on. And here's a fact. Here's something too, Banks, man. Instinctually, you would think that in some of these situations, just instinctually, that you would say, hey, you know what, man, this thing is covered. I got a lane. I got to go. And I think that that's just not clicking. And it could just be because he's still young. He's still learning the NFL and the intricacies of this game. I think it's a lot to digest with the NFL playbook and just what his eyes are seeing. Like you said, you see a lot of blitzes and a lot of people coming after him. And it's like, oh God, deer in headlights, what do I do? So I don't know, man. Maybe this is something that's going to have to happen maybe over a course of time. Sometimes it takes quarterbacks a little while to learn this game. And I'm still on the kid. You know what I'm saying? There are some things I wish he would do better, but I'm still going to stick with the kid. And I still think that he's a feasible quarterback. Now, whether he's going to be damaged goods after this regime is done with him, that's the only time will tell. We still have several games left, man, and we'll have to see what actually happened. I'm not going to go forward and say that this kid is going to be damaged goods after this regime. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. What I do say is I want to see him find ways to instinctually say, hey, you know what? I need to, go back to when I was playing Pop Warner football and make some damn plays. That's all I need for him to do, and I need for him to see. And like you said, from a coaching standpoint, hey, it is what it is from that perspective. Banks, moving forward here, let's talk about this game coming up against the division opponent against Carolina here on this Sunday before we close this thing out. Obviously, we know what happened when we went up to Carolina. It was not the situation that we wanted. Carolina just coming off an L to another division opponent in New Orleans. 4 games. We've dropped 4 games in a row. We're back at home, Banks. What do you look for this team to do? I mean, obviously, We know what Raheem is. Obviously, these guys still have to lace them up and go out and play. And let's be clear, people. Nobody is expecting to lose. When you lace them up, you go out there to win the game. Nobody's expecting to lose. So, Banks, your thoughts on this game moving forward against Carolina here, another divisional game, and you just took several weeks ago a big L from them.
I can't go forward. Lee, I got to go back to what back to Michael Penix. You talk about this regime. That's why it's important for this regime to move on quickly to the next one for Michael Penix's sake. For what I'm about to say now, this could not wait till next week. We have to say this. You have a guy in Raheem Morris. His philosophy was already jacked up from the start. When you can't even play this man in preseason with a brand new coordinator, that whole mindset is already flawed. You have a scared mentality of injuries that is probably not even there. You're in the NFL, okay? You come out week one and you want this man to hit the ground running. And obviously, it's not going to work that way. And I tell people all the time, people tell me that I'm out of control, that I need to, see for what it is. We're looking at a 3-6 team now, and now they're like, well, preseason don't matter. Well, it probably don't. But this man needs reps. This man needs something to throw to besides Drake London. And I'm so sick of him targeting number 5 and only number 5. That's not going to win in this league.
I mean, for what it's
I'm
worth,
sorry. It's just not.
He has targeted Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts is doing Kyle Pitts things.
Let me tell you something. That experiment about to end, and rightfully so. And I can't wait for that day to happen. So we'll talk about that another day. But as I'm saying for right now, when you showing all these little special throws that he used to do back in July, going down the field, I have not seen that one time this year. Not one time I've seen that throw. And you keep saying how much of a downfield specialist that he is, and he has this sniper arm. I have yet to see it. And my thing is, Ray McLeod's not here anymore. Where the hell is Mooney? I mean, what is he? Why is he even here for? I mean, it's this point now. It's like it's just so flawed now, and I blame the coaching staff for selling this false dream of this what we got now. You felt like going into preseason to regular season that this is going to manifest into something special. Absolutely not.
Well, hey, we're here now, Banks.
apologize.
The season is not
Listen,
going to end. We're here now, Banks. We're moving forward. I mean, unfortunately, yeah, we could talk until we're blue in the face about the things that could have happened and the reason that we are where we are now. But all we can talk about now is moving forward, going into this game against Carolina. What is it that they can do to salvage a win? Because obviously they're 0-4. Banks, I would love to talk to you for another hour about the things that they could have done. But hey, we can't go back and change the past. I don't have a DeLorean or a time machine to go back and slap Raheem Morris upside the head and say, hey, play Penix in the preseason. I don't have a time machine to go back and say, hey, y'all need to invest in some more free agent wide receivers. What I can say is that they need to do A, B, and C in order to get just a win this Sunday. I'm not talking about next week. I'm talking about this Sunday against Carolina. And don't say it's not possible, because it is. And if you say you don't want to comment on it, I'm fine with that as well.
I don't know what to say about it. I mean, we know what this team is. We know what this offense is all about. We already know Carolina's going to do. Carolina is going to stop Bijan by hook or by crook. Okay, is Penix going to beat the Carolina with everybody else besides Bijan? That's the start. That's the game plan. And if the answer is no, then no, we're not going to win. It's so simple. It's sickening how simple that is. This regime has made it so simple to look at the Falcons and say they don't have nothing but one guy. I used to be like, that's got to be some kind of, that one guy. It's more than one guy on the team. It's true about this team. We have one guy that you have to account for, and that's number 7.
Listen,
and if you stop this man, and this man
listen.
has not. When's the last time he's got 100 yards? Was that Buffalo?
Listen, Banks. I hear everything you're saying. Let me say this, man. We got to close this thing out here, man. This is what I'm looking for Sunday, man. I don't give a damn about no playbook. I really don't. I don't care what I don't care. I was about to cuss. I don't care what Raheem Morris does. I don't care what Zach Robinson does. But between me and you and everybody else that watches this podcast and the guys that go out there and lace them up on the field, I want to see some fight. I want to see some tenacity, and I want to see football players. That's what I want to see this Sunday, and find a way to get a gritty ass win against Carolina, because they took your lunch money and ran with it the last time you played. So miss me with Raheem, miss me with all these, the plays and this, that, and the third, all that. Hey, get in the locker room, lace them up on Sunday, play with some tenacity, play with some grit, play with some damn heart, and find a way to win a game against a team that took your lunch money, and they probably think they can come out there and slap you in your mouth again and do it again. Now, if you go out there and you play like some piss ants and let them do it again, then you deserve everything coming to you. But let me tell you something. Sometimes, Banks, all the X's and O's and all the stuff on the whiteboard, man, they can go out of the window. You got to have some dudes out there on that field, like Derrico would say, when it's nut cutting time, to go out there and say, hey, either we going to come out here and bust somebody's ass or we not. Plain and simple. And we can go back and talk about, everything that could have happened up until this point with this coaching staff, man. But hey, this is Carolina. This is a divisional opponent. I do not want to get swept by them. Sorry. Banks, you want to add anything on to this, or we can close this thing out, my brother?
It could very well happen to you, sir. I hate to break it down to you, because when you got your ass handed to you in Carolina, 30-0, we felt like that was your wake-up call, and you only follow that behind a Miami Dolphins that dog walked your ass in your house. So yes, it can happen again with this team. Okay, so yes, they have to. No. What I'm saying is, yes, we have to do what we got to do to find a win. I totally agree with you on that. But at the same time, when you have that game that you have 30-0, you got blasted by Carolina, your divisional rivalry, and then you turned around not even a couple of weeks and got dog walked by the worst team in the league, perhaps, in Miami Dolphins in your building. That's I can't even find words how absurd that is. But then, we're coming into our rematch with Carolina, who is playing better, by the way, and we're coming off a loss where we don't know what the hell we're coming or going with this offense. Good luck with you, brother. I really hope for the best for this team to find deep down what they are. I really do.
Hey, man. Listen, we're going to close this thing out, man. We're going to hope for the best. Like I said, I never look for this team to lose. I want to see some grit, some tenacity, some toughness, man. It's time to go out here on the field, man, and do what we do on Sunday against Carolina, and let the chips fall where they may, man. You take an L, you get stomped. But you got to lace them up. We can't quit at this point. They got to run out the locker room and they got to play. Banks, let everybody know where they can find you.
You find me at Antoine Jarrell Banks on Facebook, or BabyBanks80 at Instagram.
Man, also, you can find us everywhere on all your social media outlets. Well, most social media outlets. Obviously, you can find us on Twitter or the X. That's at ATL3 Style. You can also catch us on Facebook, obviously. And, of course, you can find us on YouTube as well. You can catch us out here at the Mercedes-Benz on this Sunday, man, as the Atlanta Falcons take on the Carolina Panthers. You can catch us also at as Derrico would say, the best tailgate in the city, man. The Falconers players up there on the corner of Northside Drive in Nelson, right across from Atlantucky Brewing, up there on the corner of Northside Drive in Nelson this Sunday at around 10, 11-ish. They'll be up there, man, doing their thing up there. So shout out to everybody up there, man. So we're going to do it, man. We're going to see how this thing, we're going to see if they want to fold, Banks, and we're going to see if, they some men and they want to stand up this Sunday, man. We'll see how that all works out, man. We appreciate everybody watching, and we'll catch y'all on next week to talk about what happened again, of course, in ATL Sports, man. This has been another edition of the ATL 3 Style Podcast. Let's go.